the main event, Gus Johnson's on the call. That's kind of how it's the main event. Not that it's actually the case, but he just has that knack. For as soon as you hear him on the call, your heartbeat gets going a little bit. The anticipation ticks up. It's the Big Championship. It's 1 versus 2. Ohio State, who's been number 1 almost all season since beating Texas to open it. And then Indiana, who's been number 2 for a large stretch. And shout out Sanders. We gave him grief for having Indiana 1. And they prove him right on the field. Kurt Cignetti does what he always does. He wins. Google him. And that's what they did. They won. They won 13-10. It's not a pretty game. It's not like they lit up the scoreboard. But they were fantastic defensively. They got big plays when they needed it from Mendoza. They got a 37-yard rush from Hemby. Charlie B. from Nashville, Tennessee is filling in very well for the hurt Omar Cooper, making big plays down the field. And the explosive plus the defense is, in my opinion, what won them this game. Thoughts?
Honestly, this might be the biggest game of the podcast for this season because this is the game that just gave me the lead in the pick'em.
True. I was going to say the biggest game was A&M, Mississippi State.
No, this was the last game of the regular season. Are we going to pick Army-Navy for a chance for JP to tie? I currently lead. I currently lead the pick'em 47-46. It was tied at 46-all. Going into Indiana, Ohio State.
That's pretty good cinema.
I was the only one of the three of us that picked Indiana to cover, and they do. And so now, at the worst case scenario is me and JP will tie after we pick Army-Navy. But I was pretty nervous going into halftime, not about the pick'em, but about Indiana's chances. And I wish I could take credit for having them ranked 1 and be seer, but because I'm resume-based, I can't even be like, oh, I was just right, this is the best team in the country all along. Like, it kind of like, I can't even like try and use
Crazy.
that.
I gave you your props, and you just hand it right back.
No. I'm going to be honest, and the honest thing is I try to rank resume-based, and sometimes I fail, sometimes I succeed, but I can't use that and then be like, well, I knew Indiana was the best team in the country.
I will take my props and give them back to you for being honest. You're taking props one way or another.
All right, cool. Indiana was scaring me going into halftime. It felt exactly kind of like Michigan. After the 2 field goals Indiana had, I literally was like, one of my points in the preview was, okay, Indiana, don't do what Michigan does. Capitalize on mistakes. And they did the exact opposite. I think they start the game. I'm pulling up the stats now. They started with 2 field goals, right? Am I mistaken?
Not mistaken.
That is what I thought. And so it had me feeling like we were about to watch the exact same game where
a missed field goal in between the two.
Yeah,
as well.
and Sayan has a pick in one of the first drives. His first drive and field goal, and then you had the other field goal, and I'm just like, this is feeling very much like the Michigan game, and I really think Ohio State stands a good chance of just pulling away. And they don't. Kurt Cignetti shows up. That team shows up in the second half and hold Ohio State to 0 points, which is really impressive. I mean, it was just that was one of the things that I think we were interested to see was Indiana's defense versus Ohio State's offense. The running joke / serious question we've had all year is Ohio State pulling punches because their regular season schedule is kind of light. Other than that Texas game to open the season, what is Julian Sayan's ceiling really if they give him the full playbook and let him run that offense? And the Indiana defense showed up, holds Ohio State to 10 points, and then the offense shows up and gets the touchdown in the end in the almost near the end of the game in the third quarter. It was a crazy game, and then we get the Fernando Mendoza post game interview. Which that was iconic. JP, I assume you saw the interview.
We're flipping champs.
We're flipping champs.
The what I sent in the chat was I said I guess this is just what kids are going to sound like now in post game press conferences because he's not alone in sounding like that. Ty Simpson sounds almost identical and talks very, very similar. And I don't just mean like praising Jesus and putting all glory to God, but talking in that way. And giving, trying to, people were calling out, it felt like fake because it is like, it's putting so much importance on the fact that God, not they, but God gave them the opportunity to even play in this kind of game. But at the same time, then being like, oh, we're like that. We're always going to continue to punch. I don't know what Mendoza exactly said, but he was saying
we're going to
something similar
drag
to
you
that.
into the deep end, and we know that our glue is
because
like strong
we're
enough.
a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he did the thing.
And he said something like, so our glue is like, we're going to stay glued or something. And the best part is after he finishes that like whole like 5 sentences jammed together, he kind of ends it off on like a little bit of a misspeak / like the phrase doesn't make perfect sense. And he gives a little like almost like, oh, damn, I
messed
that
it up.
one
I did. He like I rehearsed it and I messed it up.
Yeah, so that's why I said I guess that's just how kids are
Sure.
going to sound like now, because you think of it is our generation, but now think of what the future generations are going to be as well. Now that we have all, God willing, we are all going to graduate college.
Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Think of people that you know just right now. We have younger siblings. All of us, we have younger siblings. Think of the people your younger siblings talk about that are like, oh, that dude is weird. I think that's just going to become what
Sure.
it's like. And look, to be honest, I don't think that's a new shocking revelation, because I'm sure our parents feel like the kids the decade before them were really weird too. So I think that's just going to be, now it might just be this is how I feel now that that's not my generation. Oh, this is just kind of a little bit
Are
weird.
you calling Fernando Mendoza not your generation?
No, I think that's just like, this is maybe the start of it, because with all the internet and everything, it has become, you have a lot more, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but freaks and geeks. You just have a lot more people that are closeted, that spend so much time alone, spend so much time online. And not that is who Mendoza is, but that is how those kinds of personalities are created. Not saying that it's negative.
Yeah. That's fair.
And not also trying to pinpoint the religious stuff, because we're a religious pod.
BYU fan base.
Multifaceted in some ways in that regard.
For my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, do it.
Well, it was something I talked about coming into the game, that if Indiana were to do it, it would open the door to anyone, saying that anyone now in the playoff outside of Tulane and Ole Miss can win the national championship. And yes, JMU can win the national championship. I say that jokingly. But anyone can, because the formula was produced by Indiana. Now, what really, really pissed me off before the game was, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Fox crew, the Fox Game Day crew, the Big Noon crew, and I don't mean Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, but Mark Ingram and Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn and Urban Meyer.
And the Barstool guy, what's his name?
Not Dave Portnoy. He's been terrible all season. But those 4 guys, when they're picking the game, they're all, for one, picking Ohio State, and I'm fine with that. But they're saying, oh, it's going to be 31-24. Oh, I got 34-31, 28-24. Give me 27-21. Ohio State's given up 9 touchdowns the entire season.
Yeah.
And you think that Indiana's just going to put up touchdowns against them? And on the same side, Indiana is second to Ohio State in the same stat category when it comes to defensive play.
Sure.
And so you think, oh, Indiana's just going to give up 30 to Ohio State, which we thought was a possibility coming into the game. But to predict that kind of score, no, this was never going to be a shootout. This was going to be 16-13. Maybe Ohio State pulls ahead and it's 24-3 at worst. Like I completely, that dumbfounded me. And that's a crew that has covered Indiana and Ohio State the entire year. And that is the final scores you're going to pick? You're just picking like generic scores like it's an NFL game? No, this is 2 elite defenses with elite playmakers. And Indiana, which is now becoming the takeaways, their defense is actually kind of showing up. That's statistically, they've looked that way the entire season. No one's watched Indiana games, so no one really knows that.
Yeah.
But the formula was produced to beat Ohio State, and that was the biggest fear for me, and I think a lot of people coming into the playoff was, oh, Ohio State's just going to roll everybody because they've been holding punches and because they have so many playmakers. But This is the formula, and Indiana showed it, and this is the formula for at least right now. It very well could change because we've only seen Ohio State lose once. But you have to have playmakers who can make big-time plays offensively. Indiana had that. And Elijah Surratt, Charlie B. from Nashville, Tennessee, if they had Omar Cooper, they would have had that. You need a quarterback who can process, escape the rush, and make big-time throws. Mendoza did all of that the entire game. You need a run game that can somehow find 3.5 yards per rush. Indiana in this game found 3.5 yards per rush.
Well done, Indiana.
With Roman Hemby and Kalen Black. You need, that's just offensively. You need this. On top of that, defensively, you need a run defense that can hold the line. They shut down Ohio State's rush offense in this game. That's not being talked about enough. You need a pass rush that can get after the quarterback with 4. They were able to sack Sayan multiple times in this game. But to sack Sayan, you also need a DB group that can take away the first read of Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate somehow. So Sayan has to go to a second progression, and then the pass rush can get there. That's just defensively. On top of that, you also need to have a better special teams day, which they did, going 2 for 3 to Ohio State's 1 for 2 on field goals. You need some luck. Ball's got to bounce your way in a few ways. You need Sayan to just fall on his butt on a QB sneak for no reason.
A couple of missed holding calls here
Missed holding calls. You need...
I think the holding calls were going a little bit both ways. I think it was just a very...
refs were told pregame to not call holdings.
You need some luck in that Mendoza... Look, I do... It's a funny discussion of our quarterbacks faking injuries for aura at this point. But you need, like, Mendoza to get up after that hit, which immediately that's the first play of the game for Indiana.
Yeah, we're like, this game's just kind of over already?
Yeah, you felt that in the crowd through the screen. I felt that way as well. I could not imagine Indiana fans, how they felt in that game. It's like, oh, it's just over. Man. And Mendoza made an incredible play. And then you need to have a better day coaching. I think there's only 4 teams in the playoff that can't do that. And that's Old Piss, because I don't think they can outcoach Ryan Day with Pete Golding, and I don't think they have the playmakers defensively. Tulane, obviously, talent's just not there. JMU, obviously, talent's just not there.
You saying Bob Chesney can't outcoach Ryan Day?
Go Dukes.
Yeah, but does he have the playmakers to be able to run?
Doesn't matter. He's going to do more with less.
Can he run for 3.5 yards per rush? I love Alonzo Barnett, but can he make the plays Mendoza played?
If we bring Matthew Sluka back out off the sidelines, maybe.
And then the final one is... And this is a team I really like, but OU, I just don't think they can't run the football.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can get up to that and have a sustainable ground game. And look, I think the first pushback could be Bama.
Yeah, that's
but Bama has
at
least showed some pulse in the run game. And I'd also argue that Kalen DeBoer, with his head coaching and his experience already in playoff, they can make enough big time plays that even if they weren't able to run the football extremely well. So
I think when it's when he's at best as a coach is in the biggest moments.
Absolutely. And so I think Indiana showed that is going to be the formula right there to beat Ohio State. You need to do all of those things, which is insane. But I do think every team that Ohio State's going to face in this college football playoff is going to be capable of doing that. And I think they're in grave danger now that we've shown that, because I think A&M very easily, because they're a toolbox team. They've shown they can win any kind of game this year, but they have the playmakers to do all of those things that Indiana did. They'll just need Marcel Reed to beat Fernando Mendoza for a day.
Le'Veon Moss to be healthy, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Miami has all the playmakers to do it. They'll just need Carson Beck to beat Fernando Mendoza for a day. Georgia very easily could do it, and they would give Ohio State probably the toughest battle outside of Indiana. And then for whoever they were to meet in the national championship, if it's Indiana, if it's Texas Tech, if it's Oregon, if it's Bama, I think all of those teams have that capability. And so for me, that was my biggest takeaway is, oh, really? Anyone could really win this. Will it probably be just Ohio State or Georgia? Probably, which kind of sucks. And I hope that doesn't happen.
I assume Ohio State's still the odds-on favorite.
I don't know. I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, look it up.
While you do that, do you have...
I was just going to say, I think interesting thing, too, talking about pulling punches. I feel like Ohio State was maybe actually pulling punches. The punches they pulled just weren't very good.
No, that was something I've mentioned multiple times. Whenever we would talk about Ohio State, I was like, Well, if you keep plays in your back pocket, there's
You've never
always a
seen 'em
chance
work.
they
Yeah.
just don't work. Or, maybe the plays are good plays, but you just haven't run them in an in-game scenario, and so you just botch it.
Yeah.
So that was always a possibility.
Because you got inside the red zone twice, and the first time, 3rd and 1, you don't get it, and then you run the QB sneak, and Mendoza falls down, and you don't get it.
Saying.
Yep, thank you. Good
You're
catch. And it's like a long one, and I don't hate that play call because it's QB sneak. I also will say, due to Sayin's size, I don't necessarily love the play call because you're asking a guy that's not very physically imposing to go be physically imposing.
Yeah.
And then the next time, you run a little bootleg. You don't have any of your playmakers on the field. Jeremiah Smith isn't on the field. It's heavy personnel, so it's mainly just tight ends out there, and that doesn't work. And then I think kind of because of the lack of success, you get cold feet and you go kick the field goal to tie it instead of going for it, and you don't get it, which I disagree with that decision. I would have liked you just foot on the gas. You've gone for it before. You're going to go for it again. You've gone for it 4th and short all season. Now you also – the argument becomes a whole lot different because you don't at all expect your kicker to miss that kick. So worst comes to worst, like Iowa, it's 13-13. Doesn't plan out the way. Now it looks a whole lot worse. But I just think there was some like play calling confusion and stuff, especially in the red zone, that I'm like, yeah, maybe pulling punches and never really having to be in this spot all season really hurt you. So now the question is this a blip? And that bad offensive performance there in the locker room and in the head coaching office going, man, we really blew that one, but here's how we fix it. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then, maybe say they play Indiana again and they score in the red zone. Or is it this is a big issue and we don't have to know how to fix it?
I don't know. Think for the decision to kick the field goal at the end, I like the decision.
Sure.
But I hate how you set it up. On 3rd and 1, again, if you're going to throw the ball, why is it not to Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate? And for 2, I continue to bring up the video game, but it is my most applicable way of understanding this game. The hardest field goals to kick in that game are deep field goals on the road because the meter's just all over the place. You have no chance. And then the other one is inside the 5 to 10 yard line from one of the hashes. You miss, your kicker just doesn't get it inside the uprights, or you miss too far left or too far right. It's a tough angle.
Yeah.
So on 3rd and 1, if you're not going to throw to Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate, why aren't you running it towards the middle and trying to give your kicker an easier chance if you were to somehow fail the field goal? That I think would be my transgression there. But I would have kicked the field goal personally because I don't think Mendoza was leading a game-winning drive. Now he kind of technically proved me wrong, but also the deep shot to Charlie Becker over the top he hits that in large part because Ohio State has to settle up for the run.
Yeah.
To get a stop and stop them from moving the chains. But I think in terms of, is this just a blip? I don't know. Because it could have looked worse.
Yeah.
They only score a touchdown on Indiana's fluky pick on the screen pass where now they made an incredible play, but that wasn't like it was, you just took it away from Mendoza. The ball bounced to your defender, and he caught it, and you score a touchdown off that drive. And then they had the 2 drives inside the Indiana 10, and Ryan Day, it kind of continues to be an issue of, in these kind of big moments, some questionable decisions. You have 2 drives inside the Indiana 10 in the second half, and you have 0 points to show for it.
Inexcusable.
It's inexcusable. So I think it's very possible that it could have looked worse.
Sure.
Because you could make the same argument that y'all made with Texas Tech in that, Indiana left points on the field. I'd argue their Ohio State defense is good enough that it is really hard to continue to pick up first downs, and that's why field goals are forced. But it could have looked worse. It really could have.
Sure.
It really, really could have, and I think that's got to be scary for Ohio State fans going forward. It's something I was thinking about during the game is like, how do you feel as an Ohio State fan right now? Like, especially at the end of the game, losing it. You won the Michigan game, but like, how much do you care about this team going forward into the playoff, and are you really, really like scared at this point for a team that is dominated all season long?
Yeah.
And while it's just one game, for what cannot be lost in this, for Indiana, a team now in their second year with Kurt Signetti, just their second year, to already have the players and the playmakers, and then those playmakers make the plays against you on the biggest stage. Why should I not expect that to continue down the road? Like, why should I not expect that if Ohio State had played some tougher damn games in the Big Ten, that they wouldn't have lost a game here or there?
Sure.
If they hadn't played Arch Manning in his first road start, would they have lost to Texas? If that game was in week 3 and Arch had his legs under him a little bit, maybe they would have lost that game. Had they had played at Oregon, had they had played Penn State before they fell off, would they have lost those kinds of games? If Michigan had a pulse offensively, would they have lost those kinds of games? So I don't. They were dominant all season. They deserve to be number one. But now maybe not so much. Maybe they are just one of these teams that can win it all.
I think
they are the odds-on favorite right now, as Sanders asked earlier. They're at plus 220. Indiana just behind them at plus 290. And then there's a gap. There's a pretty big, sizable gap, honestly. Georgia at plus 550. And then the fourth odds-on favorite is the Oregon Ducks at plus 800. Texas Tech at plus 900. Huge gap, Texas A&M.
I wonder why.
Those are the four teams that have the bye, and then the one team that essentially has a bye playing JMU at home.
Yep.
So
that'd be why.
That being said, though, the 8 seed won it all last year, and the 7 seed, if I'm not mistaken, Notre Dame made it to the national championship as well. So,
yeah.
One more question about this game. Gus Johnson, does he prep things before? Charlie B from Nashville, Tennessee. Did he come up with that on the fly? Does he go through each player and be like, that's going to be my thing for this guy? Like, how do you think he preps for games? Does he come up with the phrases and stuff that he uses? Also, how does he live on the state of almost cracking voice eternally? Wow! Just like...
It's what he does.
He's just great at that.
He just eternally is like, his voice is about to crack, but not quite.
For the lines, part of that is just who he is personality-wise. But for two, he probably said it in a funny way in meetings during the season when talking about the Indiana team before the game.
Yeah.
Oh, they got Charlie Becker. Oh, he's from Nashville, Tennessee, and somehow makes it out of that.
He's also had Indiana before this season.
As someone who wanted to be an announcer, you 100% prep a few things here and there that you think about. Like every announcer thinks about what are they going to say at the end of the game to try and encapsulate the entire game into one sentence.
Sure.
Because that is what is going to be played over and over for years and years to come, of what you said as the clock hit 0 when Jalen Monroe on 4th down slips and falls in a short and Michigan beats Alabama. What is Chris Fowler going to say? Because that's played over and over for years and years to come. So he's probably thought of a few of those, but it's also, I think it's just his personality. That's just who he is.
Jack did also point out that he's kind of like a slow talker. So, like, it allows him, which is a good trait to have in almost everything, but, like, it allows you to think about what you're saying and, like, plan out the next thing and craft kind of, like, the stuff that you want from TV announcers. Whereas someone like me, or I guess me and Jack, maybe less with JP, I feel like we both talk really fast.
Yeah, I would never be able to think of something mid-sentence. I kind of have to
because
start.
you're already at the end of the sentence.
Correct.
Announcing is no different than riding, well, not riding a bike, I wouldn't say that, but, like, playing golf or learning how to dribble or studying for a test. Repetition.
Yeah.
Years and years of doing it, you get better and better at it, and you have felt and been in enough moments. He's already had to call the biggest play of the game hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And so it's just
nothing new.
It's a layup at that point.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to go back to talking about the Ohio State fans. How do you think they feel? I think the worst thing for them from this game is you were fine with the decision to kick it. The Ohio State fans I've seen are not, and I think they're coming from the game feeling like Ryan Day got outcoached, and he got outcoached by the head coach at Indiana, who's fantastic. But
100%
they're the Ohio State University. They should not get outcoached by whoever's coaching Indiana. That can't happen. And so I think that's what's most worrying, and that's what's most frustrating for them. Golly, excuse me.
That is a wild sneeze.
I tried to hold it back and it made it worse. But yeah, I think that's what's really sticking with them. And then, yeah, that's all I really have.
Mendoza won himself the Heisman, it would seem.
Thank goodness. Oh, my gosh.
The
thank
odds
goodness.
were switching very early in this game. Pavia became an odds-on favorite, and then Mendoza did what he did in the second half. Specifically, the odds flipped as soon as Mendoza got hurt on that first play. Mendoza is a minus 2,500 favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Pavia, the second odds-on favorite, at plus 1,200. Massive, massive gap, and then it's no man's land. Jeremiah Love is third, technically.
Sure.
On the ballot. But it'll be Mendoza in New York. Pavia will get to go there, or a farm, do all of that. But I'd also like to add, Pavia is part of the same club with Simpson and Mendoza in terms of the way his post-game press conferences are just kind of a little bit weird. He just aura farms in them, and he knows he's aura farming. I think Mendoza is trying to aura farm, which is when you made that point of like, I kind of messed that one up.
So it's just a bunch of Jason Tatums we've got in sports.
Well, Jason Tatum is just like that, where he's a cornball, yeah.
But they have their own flavor to him. Like Diego Pavia is a little more like cool, edgy, bad boy. Like tries Johnny Manziel's kind of become his mentor, and so I think he copies a lot of what Johnny Manziel does. Mm-hmm. Mendoza is just like this really happy, energetic goofball that has no aura, but then that's kind of aura in and of itself because he's almost like true to himself. But is he really being true to himself, or is he just like playing
Kurt
into
Signetti
it?
has aura. When he was walking out to shake Ryan Day's hand without even a smirk.
How difficult do you think that was to hold back the smirk?
I think it was easy for him, and like that could just be aura
that has
farming.
to have been hard.
I think he's like hard. That. I think he's just
no.
like that.
I think that was
I'm
a
fully
struggle.
bought in.
I think.
And
I'm also just a guy who I'm smiling right now, and I couldn't stop if I wanted to. But that has to have been a huge struggle.
I think initially he fought back the little smirk, but as soon as he fought back the initial, he was.
Bro, they were freaking champs, and he couldn't even give it a little smile.
Job's not finished.
I don't know how
that's 100% what he's saying. And then for Ty Simpson, it's the flavor of like, I'm the coach's kid. I'm never good enough. Like I can always be better. Always things to improve on, and then that.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I'm very happy Diego Pavia's not winning the Heisman.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
I know there's probably someone that disagrees with what I said there, but go watch Pavia's post-game on the field interview after he beat LSU, in which he was saying in the prior week in which he had just lost to Bama, their first loss of the season, he was saying, I kind of lost myself for a week. And, I kind of had to go, get back on God and
God humbled me, basically.
Start relying on him, and I had to, be humble and all that. Like, I don't think he was – I know he believes that, but it's just like it was goofy. It was like, bro, we know what you're trying to do here. We can see right through it. And you lost to Bama on the road.
Yeah.
You didn't lose yourself. You're not
teams
you're
do
not
that.
down in the dumps.
You didn't have a disaster class against South Carolina or something
or
like
Florida
that.
State.
Yeah, or Florida State, for example. Just to throw a random one out there.
Yeah, it's just a random team that came to mind.